Amy Slaton, a star of 1,000 Pound Sisters, is suing Brian Lovvorn because her family is in trouble. Amy Slaton, who is one of the stars of TLC's hit reality show 1,000 Pound Sisters, is in the news again, but this time it's because of something horrible that happened in her personal life. Reports say that Amy is suing her husband, Brian Lovvorn, because she wants to divorce from him. Sources say that Brian hasn't been taking care of Amy's child for a long time. In fact, he has told Amy more than once, "Throw this child away. I don't want to keep this child. We shall have a new child in the future. You will love him, and so will I." This harsh comment really hurt Amy. She felt like a mother, and her husband was being cruel. Amy's conscience kept telling her to give in. In the end, she made the brave choice to end her relationship with Brian Lovvorn for the sake of her children and her own honor. Amy is currently filing for divorce through the court and wants to move on for her child's future and her own mental health. Many people have backed her choice and shown their support for her. But Amy Slaton hadn't felt at ease in her house in months. The walls that used to echo with laughter were now shaking with silence, broken only by the cries of her baby son Gage. Amy, who is known to millions as one half of the beloved duo from 1,000 Pound Sisters, was living through a nightmare that no camera crew could capture, a private torment that happened far away from the TLC cameras. Things with Brian Lovvorn were good at first. He came into her life when she needed help the most. He was charming, soft-spoken, and loving, and he promised her love, loyalty, and a future as a strong family. But promises are just words until they are put to the test by responsibility. When their baby was born, Brian changed. One night, tired and upset, she urged Brian to spend time with their son. She wanted him to understand. Instead, he snarled, "Throw this child away. I didn't want him. One day we'll have another kid. You can love him. I'll love him too. Not this one." Tears blurred her eyes as she looked at the guy she thought she recognized. Was this really the father of her child? How could he be so cruel? In the days that followed, Amy attempted to forgive and understand. Maybe it was stress or sadness. But his remarks never altered. If anything, they got colder. Every time she gazed at her baby, she felt a fire building inside her. It was the strong love of a mother who knew she had to defend her child. For Gage. For herself. For all she had struggled for in her life, from her food addiction and body image issues to becoming a mother against all odds. When the legal process started, tabloids got wind of the tale. At first, there were rumors, whispers, and accusations, but Amy didn't back down. Instead, she posted a short, passionate message on social media. "I've spent years learning to love myself. Now it's time to protect my child with that same love. No one, not even someone I used to love, has the right to tell me my child is disposable. Gage is my miracle. I'm choosing him. I'm choosing peace." The support was too much. Fans from all around the world sent her messages of love and support. Even her sister Tammy, who had been through her own ups and downs, stood by her in public. Amy stayed strong through court fights, custody hearings, and emotional breakdowns. She wasn't battling for fame, sympathy, or drama. She was fighting for independence, dignity, and a home full of love for her son, not rejection. Months later, when the divorce was official, Amy stood outside the courthouse holding Gage. Reporters tried to crowd her, but she just gazed at her son and said, "We did it, baby. Mommy's free." She got in her car, closed the door, and smiled for the first time in a long time. It wasn't the end of a chapter. It was the start of a brand new book that she would write on her own terms, page by page, with love, strength, and no apologies. But the summer sun was shining down on Dixon, Kentucky, but inside the Slaton family home, a storm was brewing that was much worse than anything outside. Tammy had just come back from a follow-up appointment for her weight loss surgery, and things were not going well. The doctors told her that her health could quickly get worse again if she didn't stick to her therapy and make changes to her lifestyle. Amanda stepped closer and spoke in a low, angry voice. "No, Tammy. I think I care about you more than you care about yourself. That's the damn problem." Tammy's eyes filled with tears, but she wouldn't exhibit weakness. "Get out of my face."
"You don't get to judge me," she said.
The fight got worse, and years of feelings that had been buried came out. Old wounds reopened, like when Amanda couldn't visit Tammy in rehab or when Tammy skipped Amanda's birthday after her divorce. It wasn't just about weight anymore. It was about trust, hurt, and feeling forgotten. The fight grew so bad that Amanda left the house in a rage, slamming the door behind her. For weeks, she didn't return Tammy's calls or respond to the family group chat. Family dinners were stressful, and Amy did her best to keep the peace between her two obstinate sisters. But both women were in pain, even though they were angry. Amanda viewed an old film of the sisters laughing together on a road trip one night. Tammy was in her wheelchair, and Amanda was pushing her. They were both smiling like kids. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. She missed her sister. Tammy found a note Amanda had written her in rehab that said, "You're stronger than you think. Don't let pain make you bitter." It impacted her harder than she thought it would. Amy finally planned a peace supper in a diner in the area. Tammy was the first to come, looking anxious and silent. Amanda came in 15 minutes late, looking doubtful but determined. But Amy's house in Dixon, Kentucky, was intended to be a quiet Sunday afternoon. The family had gathered for what was supposed to be a reconciliation cookout, with burgers on the grill, lemonade on ice, and a little optimism that the sisters would finally be able to put their differences aside. Amanda had been worried all week. Things had been tense ever since the big fight with Tammy 3 weeks ago. Tammy hadn't answered texts or calls. During the last family Zoom call, Tammy logged off in the middle of a sentence. Amanda felt the weight of her words. She had gone too far during that fight. She knew it. Today, with the cameras running and everyone cautiously hopeful, Amanda carefully walked up to Tammy. The team quietly stepped in closer, sensing that the situation was about to change. Tammy sat in a shaded lawn chair and scanned through her phone with her usual scowl. Her body language said she wasn't in the mood. "Tam," Amanda whispered softly, her voice shaking a little. "Can we talk for a minute?" Tammy looked up and narrowed her eyes. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how things went. I shouldn't have yelled or brought up the past." Amanda pulled out an old picture of the two of them laughing in matching sweatshirts from her pocket. "I miss this, Tammy. I miss us. I don't want us to stay mad forever." Tammy yelled, "You're only trying because the cameras are here." Her voice got louder. "You embarrassed me on national TV, Amanda. You said I was a burden and that I ruin everything. That's not something I can just get over." Amy jumped in because she could feel the tension rising. "Guys, please, let's not do this here. We're family." Tammy jumped up so quickly that her chair almost fell over. "No, I'm done. I'm always the bad guy, right? I always storm off in your little story. Well, guess what?" She turned around, her eyes full of angry tears. "I'm leaving because I'd rather be alone than pretend to be happy with people who don't care." She pushed past the crew, ignored Amanda's outstretched hand, and stomped down the driveway. Her mic crackled until she yanked it off and threw it behind her. The family stood there in shock. Amanda looked down at the picture in her palm, and a single tear fell on it. The future of the Slaton sisters' relationship was uncertain as the sun sank over the quiet Kentucky neighborhood. The cameras panned over the empty lawn chair, the photo flapping in the wind, a sign of a past they all wanted to get back and a present that hurt too much to ignore. But Amy and Tammy decided it was finally time to get their passports so they could plan a big trip together. Amy had always wanted to go to the beach in Florida, and Tammy wanted to see the mountains in Colorado. Both sisters were excited about the idea of traveling, but first they had to get their passport photos taken. The sisters got to the little picture studio in the city center, where the walls were covered in colorful posters of places to visit and rules for taking passport photos. Tammy, who was usually a little anxious about new things, kept fiddling with her phone while Amy tried to make her laugh with some jokes. "Come on, Tammy, it's just a picture," Amy remarked with a smile to calm her down. "It won't take long, and then we'll be one step closer to our trip." Tammy agreed, but she still seemed a little nervous. Amy walked up first when the photographer called their names. She sat down, fixed her hair, and tried to smile naturally. But the bright light scared her and her smile froze in an unnatural way. The photographer laughed and urged her to relax and try again. Tammy was next. She sat in the chair and tried to keep her head up straight, but as soon as the camera flashed, she blinked hard, making her eyes look half-closed. The photographer said playfully, "Okay, Tammy, no blinking next time." After a few more tries, both sisters eventually acquired a set of shots that looked good enough. Amy glanced at the pictures and said, "Well, we don't look like supermodels, but these will do." Tammy smiled, glad that the hard time was over. "I just hope these pictures don't hurt our chances of getting passports." Tammy turned to Amy as they were leaving the studio and said, "You know, this whole passport thing feels like the first step to a new chapter. I'm really glad we're doing this together." Amy nodded and said, "Me too. We'll face whatever happens together, even the passport photos." The sisters stepped out into the sun, already thinking about the fun things they would do. They had no idea that this simple trip to acquire passport photos would be the start of many great memories on the road ahead. But Amy Slaton had been dealing with obesity, self-doubt, and toxic cycles for years. Now, the cameras had stopped rolling, but the weight of the past was heavier than ever on her shoulders. It wasn't just about the pounds on the scale anymore. It was about healing her heart, mind, and soul. Amy had been divorced from Michael for 3 months. She was sitting on the front porch of her Kentucky home, watching her 2 sons, Gage and Glenn, play in the yard. She loved her boys, but there was a hole in her heart. She had spent years taking care of others, her sister Tammy, her kids, even Michael. But she had completely forgotten about herself. She wasn't afraid of the mirror anymore. She didn't detest what she saw, but she didn't know who she was either. She cried as she said to herself one night, "I'm not who I used to be, but I don't know who I'm supposed to be now." Tammy had changed her life. She had shed more than 300 pounds and was doing well after having bariatric surgery and moving into her own apartment. She had earlier been stuck in a hospital bed with ventilators. Amy felt like she was the one who had been left behind for the first time in years. Tammy urged her on the phone one night, "You can do this, sis. You were always the strong one. You were there for me when I couldn't be there for myself. Now it's your turn." That talk was what started it all. Amy chose to stop filming for a while. She wanted some genuine space to figure things out. She started going to therapy with a trauma expert, writing in a notebook every day, and going to a wellness resort in North Carolina that focused on body acceptance and mental recovery. At first, she didn't believe it. Yoga mats, crystals, and herbal teas were so different from the fried chicken and crazy life she was used to. But on the 3rd day of the retreat, something changed. They were in a circle of ladies, and each woman spoke her own truth. Amy hesitated for a moment before saying softly, "I've been taking care of everyone else for so long that I don't even know what I like or what makes me happy." She started walking every day, not to lose weight, but to clear her mind. She painted again, which she hadn't done since high school. She dyed her hair electric blue just because it made her feel brave. Food no longer ruled her life. She worked with a nutritionist to learn how to have a healthy relationship with food and finally understood how every mouthful affected her emotions. She learned to say no without feeling bad, to rest without feeling bad, and to ask for help when she needed it. That afternoon, the 2 sisters sat by the lake and laughed like they used to when they were kids. There were no cameras or scripts, just 2 women who had been through hell and back and were still standing, stronger, wiser, and closer than ever. Amy finally went back to filming, not for fame, but to inspire others. Her narrative was no longer about losing a lot of weight. It was about finding herself again. She launched a YouTube channel about mental health, self-care, and being a single mother. The change in Amy stunned her fans. It wasn't only physical, it was also spiritual. The new Amy was full of life, grounded, and true to herself. But after months of progress and personal growth, TLC stars Amy Slaton Halterman and Tammy Slaton decided to take their journey to the next level by signing up for a local 5K charity walk in Dixon, Kentucky. It was a huge step, literally, for the sisters, both of whom had faced years of struggles with weight, health, and emotional battles. Amy, who is now a mother of two, had been steadily dropping weight since her surgery. She was determined to show herself and the world that she was more than just a reality TV star. Tammy, on the other hand, had just gotten out of rehab and was exhibiting indications of determination that no one had seen in years. Their trainer, Jen, was a strict fitness instructor who had been working with both of them for 3 months. The training was hard. Tammy grumbled every day, and Amy sobbed more than once. But they kept coming back. "Y'all are stronger than you think," Jen observed one morning, her brow gleaming with sweat. "But you have to trust each other. It's not just physical, it's emotional too." The day of the 5K finally came. Cameras were rolling, fans were there, and banners said, "Go Slaton Sisters." And kids held up signs with pictures of Amy's kids, Gage and Glenn. Amy came with bright pink gym clothes and a look of resolve in her eyes. Tammy wore a purple bandana and big sunglasses. She seemed sure of herself, almost too sure. The race started with cheers. Amy took her time, but Tammy suddenly claimed the lead early on. She better not burn out too quickly, Amy said to herself. Tammy halted at the halfway point. Not because she was weary, but because her ex-boyfriend Jerry had showed up out of the blue on the sidelines. He wasn't applauding, he was laughing. But Tammy lost it. "Why do you constantly act like you know better? You think you're better than me just because you lost weight and had kids?" But Tammy Slaton had lost more than 250 pounds in the 6 months since her life-changing weight loss surgery. She was finally able to move around, be more independent, and even smile more often. But the journey was far from over. Next came the next big step, skin removal surgery. Tammy stood in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom at the family home in Dixon, Kentucky. Her arms, stomach, and thighs were all sagging with loose skin. She frowned as she ran her fingers down the creases. Tammy shrugged and said, "Dr. Smith called. He wants me to start getting ready for skin removal surgery. But I don't know, Amy. Something about it doesn't feel right." Tammy sat on the edge of the bed and said, "You've come so far. You said you wanted this." "I did," Tammy said with a sigh. "But now, I don't know if I'm ready. They want to take off more than 20 pounds of skin. That's a big deal. What if I don't wake up? What if I don't like how I look afterward?" Amy, who is now a mother of two, knew her sister's anxieties. She had felt the same way before. "You remember when I got mine done? I was scared too. But you helped me through it. Let me help you now." Later that week, they flew to Nashville for Tammy's appointment. The camera crew followed them closely, filming every moment for the new season of 1,000-Pound Sisters. Dr. Smith laid out the plan at the clinic: multiple surgeries over the next year, strict recovery after each one, and a commitment to therapy to deal with the emotional aftermath. Tammy's face fell. She talked to the camera in her hotel room. "It's just too much. I thought I could go in, snip snip, and be done. But this? Months of pain, scars, and infections? I don't think I can do it." People at home were divided. Some understood Tammy's anxieties, while others were angry. Fans on social media argued over her hesitancy, but no one really knew what it was like to be in her shoes. Tammy cried one night while seeing old film of herself from season 1. She said, "I don't recognize that woman anymore, but I also don't know who I'm becoming." Amy hugged her and said, "Then let's figure her out together." Tammy finally consented to go through with one part of the surgery, starting with her upper arms, which were the most painful and uncomfortable part for her. The morning before the operation, everyone was on edge. As she was wheeled into the OR, she held Amy's hand tightly. But in season 5 of 1,000-Pound Sisters, the Stalin family faces some of their biggest challenges yet. Amy is learning to be a single mom to 2 toddlers, and Tammy is dealing with both physical and emotional problems after her weight loss surgery. But no one was ready for the drama that would unfold in season 5. Amy's house in Dixon was supposed to be her safe place, but things started to go wrong, both in real life and in her mind. The roof leaked during a summer storm, and Amy broke down on camera while her boys were screaming and pots were catching wet. Tammy, who was living on her own for the first time in years, tried to help but got angry quickly. Because she couldn't move around much and had medical needs, Things were hard for her, and she yelled at Amy, stating, "Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. If you like the video, please don't forget to subscribe."